Hi everyone, welcome to a Tess Academy YouTube video. This is part of our GCSE Biology revision lesson series. Today we will run through levels of organisation and interdependence. Remember, if you have any queries, please visit our website at tessonlineschool.com. Also, please suggest any feedback, improvements or suggestions to us through the website. Thank you. Now, what are levels of organisation? In an ecosystem, there are four main levels of organisation. The first one being an individual organism. This is just one living thing of a species like a single bee or a bird. As you can see in the diagram, we are starting off with a fish. The second one is a population. This is the amount of the individuals of the same species living together in the same area. For example, the number of polar bears living in the Arctic. As you can see, we have a bunch of the same fish species all together. The third level of organisation is a community, a group of different species living and interacting with each other in the same area. For example, a community of animals in a forest might include bears, deers, squirrels, and birds all living and interacting with each other. We can see that we've got fish, a jellyfish, and seaweed all together. Lastly, there is an ecosystem. Ecosystems are made up of both living things like communities and non-living things like the air, water, and soil that all work together to create a unique environment. For example, a coral reef is an ecosystem made up of fish, coral plants, and water that all interact with each other and work together, as you can see in the diagram. As you can see, the scale gets larger and larger, but nonetheless, all the levels are interconnected and could not exist without each other. Now let's visualize levels of organisation with this diagram. First, we start off with an individual, like the fish, which creates a population of all of the different fish of the same species, which then go on to create a community amongst other species and other organisms, which then create an ecosystem whilst they interact with abiotic factors. An ecosystem is the largest level within organizations. An ecosystem is when a group of living things called biotic factors interact with things that are not living called abiotic factors in their environment. Ecosystems can be different sizes, like a small pond in a garden to a whole desert. Some examples of ecosystems include a forest, coral reefs, and deserts. Each of these places has living things like animals and plants that interact with non-living things like the air, water, and soil. The biotic factors in an ecosystem rely on the abiotic factors for survival. For survival and reproduction, organisms require specific resources from the environment. As a result, individuals of a species frequently engage in interactions with members of their own or other species. These interactions can include predators, like carnivores preying on their prey, herbivores consuming plants, and plant species being pollinated by bees. One main way in which such complex ecosystems can even exist is through interdependence. Interdependence refers to the relationships between species in a community or habitat where each species depends on other species for resources such as food, shelter, and pollination. If one species is removed, it can have a significant impact on the entire community. A stable community is one in which all the species and environmental factors are in balance, leading to population sizes that remain relatively constant over time. Let's now visualize what interdependence looks like in real life. This is a food web or a food chain where there is interdependence between each level and between the species and organisms. We start off with the grass, which is a producer, and end off with an apex predator, which is the hawk. If the population of caterpillars and earthworms were to decrease in the food web shown, firstly, there would be an increase in the population of grass plants as there would be fewer species feeding off of them. On the other hand, the populations of small birds and mice would be significantly impacted as they heavily rely on caterpillars and earthworms as their primary food source. Let's now put our knowledge of levels of organisation and interdependence to the test and have a go at a few exam questions, including the following multiple choice question. Have a go at this independently and return back to the video to add to your corrections. The first question is, which of the following best describes the concept of interdependence in an ecosystem? Is it A, the way in which organisms compete for resources in a habitat? B. The relationships between different species in a community where each species depends on other species for resources. C. The process by which organisms adapt to their environment over time. Or D. The way in which organisms migrate from one ecosystem to another. Have a go at this now. The correct answer is B. Interdependence is a relationship between different species in a community where each species depends on another species for resources. This next question is a 6-marker and an explain question. With these questions, you have to rely on your scientific recall and try to explain the why or how of a process or a concept using because or similar conjunctions. The question is, explain the 4 levels of organization in an ecosystem and how they are organized. 6 marks. Award yourself 1 mark for each of the following answers. Naming the levels of organization firstly in the correct order will give you 2 marks, then defining each organization level will give you 1 mark. The first would be an individual organism is just one living thing of a species. Then a population is the amount of the individuals of the same species living together in the same area. Thirdly, a community is a group of different species living and interacting with each other in the same area. Lastly, an ecosystem is when a group of living things called biotic interact with things that are not living called abiotic in their environment. The next question is a simple 2-marker. Define the term ecosystem and provide an example of an ecosystem. Award yourself 1 mark for each of the following bullet points. 1 mark for defining ecosystem as a community of living and non-living things interacting with each other in a specific environment, and 1 mark for providing a correct example of an ecosystem, for example, a forest, a coral reef, or desert. Thank you for watching. Remember, if you would like further support, we offer one-to-one sessions and group sessions for Key Stages 1, 2 and 3, along with specially formulated 11+, GCSE and A-level lessons. Further information can be accessed on our website at tessonlineschool.com. And if you would like further resources, advice and feedback, please contact us on the following numbers. Thank you.